But even more dangerous than what we're seeing because of defunding police is what we're seeing because of the open border policies imposed by the Biden administration and supported by Beto. It is reckless, it is dangerous, and completely unnecessary. Remember this, it was just over a year ago, at the end of the tenure of President Trump, we had the lowest border crossings in decades for four simple reasons. The remaining Mexico policy, the Title 42 policy, the end of catch and release, and building the border wall. Those four strategies worked to reduce border crossings. And then when Biden came in, he gutted those four strategies. He opened up the border to anybody who wanted to come across. People have come across the border from more than 150 different countries across the globe, including people coming across our border from terrorist-sponsored nations. You know, it's kind of ironic that when we deal with terror and countries that are hostile to the United States, we have Biden transfixed on what's going on between Russia and the Ukraine and the border between the two, when in reality, the President Biden needs to be focused on sending resources to his own border of the United States and Mexico. Well, Texas is stepping up and doing what the Biden administration should do. Texas is prioritizing securing the border. The legislators who are here today in the entire legislature, they provided more than $3 billion for Texas to do the federal government's job to secure the border, and that includes having 10,000 National Guard guarding the border as we gather in Houston today. Give it up for our great Texas National Guard who are working to secure the border. And they're working alongside the Texas Department of Public Safety, and they are making arrests of people coming across the border. We converted 2 prisons into jails so that we would be able to jail all the people that we are arresting down there. We are arresting people for human smuggling, for the trafficking of drugs, the trafficking of the drug fentanyl. Fentanyl, if you don't know this, you need to know it, because fentanyl is being brought into Houston, Texas. 2 milligrams of fentanyl, which is as small as 2 grains of salt, is a deadly dose. And Texas law enforcement has seized enough fentanyl to kill every man, woman, and child in Texas, California, New York, Illinois, and Florida combined. This is something that Joe Biden is doing absolutely nothing about. The only people doing anything about it are the people of the great state of Texas trying to seize this fentanyl and to shut it down. And then on top of that, yes, Texas is building our own border wall. We're using the same type of wall structure that was used by President Trump, these enormous panels that are more than 30 feet tall. So imagine at least maybe 3 times as high as the ceiling right above us here today, made out of the same metal fabrication, et cetera. And they add these panels hour after hour, day after day. And it got a little bit easier for us because you remember some of those materials that were laying on the ground that the Trump administration had left behind with your taxpayer dollars and the Biden administration was not using. We were able to get some of those panels, and the panels that Biden had left on the ground, we are now putting up on the wall in Texas, making the Texas border wall even longer. But listen, there's more than just your safety that's on the ballot this election. Your very freedom is on the ballot this election. You know, when we think about freedom, you think about what's in the First Amendment, for example. What the First Amendment represents is protecting your freedom of speech as well as your freedom of religion. Let's go back in time to my prior office. I want to remind people of something because there's an anniversary coming up. Well, not 30 years. So here's what happened when I was the Attorney General. At the time, there was a monument on the Texas Capitol grounds, and that monument is about 10 feet tall, higher than I could even reach, and etched onto that monument are the 10 Commandments. And there was an atheist crossing the Texas Capitol grounds, and he asked a federal court to tear down that monument. I argued that case all the way to the United States Supreme Court. That argument took place on Texas Independence Day. And we didn't know until later, until June when the decision came out, that on that day we won that argument, and we won our independence to continue to display the Ten Commandments monument on the Texas Capitol grounds where it still stands today. Well, listen, Beto O'Rourke doesn't agree with the same commitment to the religious values and principles that have shaped the state of Texas, because when he was running for president, he said that he would eliminate the tax-exempt status of churches that refuse to bow down to his woke left agenda. I will not let that happen in our great state. To the contrary, I signed a law prohibiting any public official at any level from ever closing down our churches and denying you the right to go worship God Almighty. And after the First Amendment comes the Second Amendment. We all know what Beto said about the Second Amendment. He's going to come and confiscate your guns. That is outrageous that someone who wants to be a public official wants to deny you your Second Amendment rights. I have signed 20 laws protecting your Second Amendment rights in the great state of Texas. So let me just close with this. We need to understand what's going on in this election process, because there is a greater divide between the candidates who are going to be running for governor in November. One is a far-left radical socialist, and the other is a conservative who believes in the values of Texas. There's something true about everybody in this room. You all love and you know that America is the greatest country in the history of the entire world. And I think that I can tell by your reaction, there's some people in this room who may even think that you may love Texas as much, if not more, than you love the United States of America. But you need to know this also, and that is there are people running for office this election, people running for governor this election, who want to rewrite the past of the United States and redesign its future to look more like their socialistic vision. And guess what? We are going to band together, and we are not going to let these radical leftists take over our great state. We're going to beat them at the ballot box this November. And when we work together, knocking on doors, making phone calls, turning out the vote, when we do everything that's necessary to win, we are going to keep Texas the best state in the greatest country in the history of the entire world. God bless you all. God bless the great state of Texas.